Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Strategies. I'm Danette Moss, your host here, and I am extremely excited about today's show, as I am with all our shows. But today, I have the fabulous Lawron Ballard. She's a speaker, author, and the founder of the Discipling CPA LLC. It's an accounting and business consultancy firm. Lauren is a graduate of Temple University in Philadelphia, and she began her career at Deloitte in 2011, where she worked with various multinational Fortune 100 companies. When she's not serving her clients, she enjoys nature, watching discourse. I'm sorry, pardon me, just kind of got tongue tied. She watched a lot of documentaries and a lot of discourseries, or snuggling up with a good book. We all love books, don't we? And Lauren desire is to be known as a woman who is continually on a journey to understand what it means to live by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. She is definitely my type of woman. I want to go ahead now and bring Miss Lauren in and welcome her to Let's Talk Strategies. Hello and welcome, Lauren. How are you?
Hello. I am amazing and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
I'm excited to have you here. Got tongue tied, got a little twisted on that word there, but hey, we recover well. I'm excited to have you here because what I didn't get a chance to tell most people is that I have a different type of relationship with you. And that relationship is she is my CPA, but y'all, she don't play. She's serious about this money thing. She's serious about indecency, being in decency and in order, not being out of order. I learned a whole lot about the importance of not commingling and all of the above. And I'm just extremely excited to have her here today on Let's Talk Strategies and cannot wait to share the information that we are going to share with you here today because Lauren has some good, as I would call, that she is going to provide us. Our topic of discussion here on our show is principles for financial success. And I'm going to tell you, it is an area that I'm still struggling with. I'm just going to be real. I love being transparent, but this is why I have people like Lauren to come on. She helps give not just me the checkup from the neck up, she's going to give you all the checkup from the neck up. And without further ado, without me babbling on and hanging out here, I want to go ahead now and I want to get down to the heart of the matter because this topic that we deal with as it pertains to money, Lauren, is something that many of us struggle with. And we struggle with it not only in our personal lives, but in our business. Because, of course, if the personal part is raggedy, we know at some point there's going to be some missing elements as it pertains to how we should be showing up financially when it comes to our business. So, I've got some couple questions, actually, a little bit more than a couple
Sounds good.
that I have for you. And I want to ask you, Lauren, can you tell us a bit about one, your background and how you became interested in helping people like me, female entrepreneurs, these awesome CEOs, achieve that financial success that you know we really want to achieve? That's what we went into business for.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you again for having me on the show. It's really a privilege and an honor, and I don't take it for granted when people allow me to share their space and their platform. So thank you so much for that. But a little bit about my background. As you read in my bio, I went to Temple University. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, born and raised. And when I was in high school, I originally thought that I wanted to be an architect, and got into school out in Pittsburgh and was like, I don't really want to go there. I prefer to stay Philadelphia, New York. And so did not go, ended up at Temple University. And when I got there, I didn't get accepted into their architecture program. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And so I started, like a lot of college students do, as undecided. And so I dabbled and did all types of gen ed classes. And I remember that one of the prereqs that I had to take in my first 2 years of school was a history class. And so I really love history. You mentioned in my bio that I like to watch documentaries. I'm always loving to learn because the Bible tells us that there's nothing new under the sun. And so when we look at what happened in the past, we can get a glimpse and an understanding of what's going to happen in the future, right? And so I took this history class, and I remember calling my dad after I left the class, and I was like, Dad, I got it. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a history major. And my dad is a very kind man, but he's also West Indian. He's Jamaican. And he was like, what on earth are you going to do with a history degree? And I said, I don't know. He was like, you need to come up with something else. And that day I made the decision. I said, you know what? Forget you. I'm just going to pick something. I'll be a business major. And so I went that day to this Fox School of Business and declared my major as an accountant because I was like, well, I guess that's like a good job. And I turns out that, when the Bible tells us that train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they are old, they will not depart from it. And so I believe that I had grew up in the church, and even though at that point in time I wasn't particularly involved in my faith walk, God was still ordering my steps. And it turns out that I actually loved accounting. And fast forward through a lot of craziness, the Lord allowed me, in spite of what looked like shouldn't have been possible, to get a job at Deloitte, which is the #1 accounting firm in the world, not just the United States. And so God was really just kind of orchestrating this thing. And in addition to that, as I was growing up, I always had like an entrepreneurial bend, right? And so I saw accounting as an opportunity to get into business, to develop a skill set, and then ultimately I was going to figure out how to do it on my own. Fast forward many, many years to 2020. I shortly after, or right around the start of the pandemic, I had my first real business. I had dabbled before that, but I had my first real business, which was a restaurant, and it failed miserably. And I couldn't figure out why. And I remember that was so gut wrenching for me because I had always wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I saw that as my opportunity to do it. And God had to take me through a series of self-discovery, exploration. The Bible tells us that pride cometh before a fall, and so He had to break down some things in my thought process to really show me that, Lawron, like, you have a skill set, but you don't have everything. And so this is a process. Entrepreneurship is a skill that you have to develop. And so fast forward to when I started my accounting practice in the start of late 2021, beginning of 2022, there I had gone through a whole metamorphosis and began to look at entrepreneurship in a really, really different way. I began to take accountability for where I had been the cause of the demise of my business. And now I can go into conversations with entrepreneurs, with female entrepreneurs, and tell them, listen, you may have this, you have this piece, this component, this element that you excel at, but entrepreneurship is God's way. I believe that it's one of God's ways of stretching us, of showing us our capacity, but also getting us to rely on Him. And so all that said to say, it's been a journey, it's been a process, but it's been a beautiful experience to see who God is trying to cultivate me to be in this season.
I got stuck there. I was just like sitting here smiling, going, remembering the importance of understanding who God has called you to be in the season. Because, see, Lawron, quite often we kind of forget that some things may possibly be seasonal, right? And when He tells us to step out there and do it, even if we feel a little uncomfortable, Even if we fall flat on our face, you shared how you started a business, it failed, but then you still went different paths. Each step that you took helped you become Lauren, the woman, the business owner that you are right now to this day. And just having the tenacity and the wherewithal not to give up is so key. But I love how you just were just transparent. You shared that it's not an easy thing. And quite often people tell us that this this whole journey of being a business owner, a woman in business, quit your job, just go ahead and get, start your own business, and everything's going to be okay. But they don't realize that sometimes you may end up working more hours than you've ever dreamed of working, like that 9 to 5, because see, 9 to 5. But when you're just you, that solopreneur, and even when you get a team member or teams of people, sometimes there's some sacrifice in there. Now, we know that God does call us to still get this thing called rest. But we all know, out of all honest sincerity, when you first start this business and you're setting it up and you're putting things, in the right path, setting things up correctly, a lot of time goes in this thing here. A lot of it goes into here. So I really truly appreciate you for sharing your true moment, or being more transparent, and also sharing how your father just was just straight up honest with you. I had one of those too. My father, the late Jeff Kirkman Jr. Let me tell you, I am who I am because of him, and my mom. They were business owners, and it's who I am now, even though I went and worked corporate. And when I worked corporate, the good thing for me was I just never felt like I was going to be in corporate for a long time. I was in IT for years, years. Back 20 something years ago, making 98,000. But do you know I still wasn't happy?
Mm-hmm.
Because who I am right now was where I
Mm-hmm.
really needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thanks again for sharing that moment of transparency. But I got another question. And it's more like the question of, I want to get your opinion on something. In your opinion, Lauren, can you tell me what are the most crucial principles for achieving financial success? And particularly for us female entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. So I would say that there's 4 key elements
Mm.
for financial success. So number 1 is to define your purpose, vision, and goals. Number 2 is to establish your processes. Number 3 is to position your people. And number 4 is to monitor your performance. And I don't want to dive into all of this because this is kind of an extract from a presentation, a full presentation that I do. But every single one of these principles are found in the Bible. So if we think about this idea of understanding or defining our goals and our values, our vision, where are we trying to go? A lot of times, part of the reasons why we're struggling, whether it's with our budgets, I've had clients, friends, colleagues say to me, listen, I'm trying to take my business to the next level, but I can't, I feel like every time I get money, it's going right back out. Well, I got to ask the question. I have to ask the question, well, why? Right? Because if you knew where your money was going, if you had a plan for every single dollar, would you be in the same situation? Probably not. And life has ebbs and flows. Sometimes we're really, really good. Sometimes we're off. Things happen. And so this is if you've gotten to a place where you may not know where every single dollar is going, where you may not have a vision or a plan for your finances, that's okay, right? But it's kind of putting a stake in the ground and saying here and no further. Like we got to get this thing straight. We got to get it cleared up, right? And so I think that is the foundational principle that if we don't understand where we're trying to go, we'll never get there. We're going to continue to go through cycles. We're going to continue to spin our wheels and find ourselves stuck in the mud, right? Then the second piece is once you have that clarity of what you're trying to accomplish, you got to get some systems. I know for you that's your buzzword. That makes you smile from ear to ear, but everything is a system, everything is a process, everything has to have an order. And when we think about God and who he is, let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to Genesis, where it says, where the scriptures tell us that we were made in the image of God. And if God did everything in a process, if he did everything in its time and in an order, what are we supposed to do? We have to do it in a process. If you look at creation, literally look at creation and the account of creation, first God made a place, then he filled it. So it wasn't that he made stuff and then had to figure out somewhere to put it. He had a system, he had an ecosystem, right, that he created. And then once he had the ecosystem, then he said, these are the animals, these are the creations, this is what needs to go into this ecosystem, and this is how they're all going to interact. And so for me personally, one of the things that I've had to do, I was very, very good, especially in my 20s, about budgeting, saving, all of that. Within the past couple months, being an entrepreneur, with my money coming in at all times of the month, I kind of got lazy, right? I was like, oh, I get money now, I'm going to spend the money now. I got bills to pay, I'm going to pay my bills. I began to notice that there was chaos in my financial situation. And so what did I have to do? I said, whoa, this is getting out of control. My bills are paid, but this is getting out of control. I need a system. And so I made a system for me that works. It's a very simple spreadsheet, but it allocates. I'm not a W-2 employee anymore, right? So my money comes at different times, but I need to make sure that I'm allocating the money when it comes in. I know where it's supposed to go. So I made a very simple spreadsheet that basically says, these are the buckets. So this is the place, right? This is the ecosystem. And then those funds, the service, the revenue that I generate in my business, right? That is what's filling those ecosystems, those places. And so now I know exactly where my money is supposed to go every single time it comes into my bank account. It doesn't matter if it comes on the 5th or the 13th. I know where my money is supposed to go. So that's the second piece, right? Then the third is to identify and empower your people. You mentioned the idea of a solopreneur, or if you have a team, but part of it, right, is so we don't want to stay, if we're really trying to have a business that is profitable, that's functional, that's scalable, our goal is not to remain a solopreneur. We always are going to need the support of other people. And so once we have a vision, once we have our ecosystems, now we're in position to bring in the people to fill in the gaps where we know that we're weak. So one of the things that I'm not the best at, I can be good at organization, but I don't really like it, right? Like I don't like to do the administrative stuff. And so one of my personal goals is to say, all right, let me get everything straight over the next couple weeks, next couple months, and implement that administrator who's really, really strong, who can take over all of my office operations. That is my piece, right? But at that point, I already have a system for how I allocate my money. So I know how the money is going to go. I know what I can afford to pay. I know the type of support that I need. I'm going to have my systems in place in terms of the type of work that I need them to do. And so all of this is interrelated. And I know that me as an accountant, right, we talk about money, but really your most valuable asset, and is really it's invaluable, is time. And if you can learn how to manage your own time and leverage the time of other people, you will find that you are more profitable, not just financially, but emotionally, relationally, because you now have the bandwidth to serve and to show up in a major way. And then the last element that I think is imperative for every single entrepreneur, female or otherwise, to have in place is measure your performance. What good would it have me? What good would it be to me to have this spreadsheet where I'm tracking how much I allocate to all my different financial obligations, and then I never look at it again? I have to manage it. I have to make sure it works. I have to use it and say, okay, well, maybe this is not exactly how I want it. This is not necessarily the approach. I think I need something different. But it's that intentionality of saying, let me look at what's going on. I'm not going to get scared of what it tells me, because ignorance is not bliss. It's chaos, right? And so we've got to take the initiative and the opportunity to take accountability and say, let me look at what I've set up. Because even God in creation, who is perfect, he looked at creation at the end and said, it was very good.
You just dropped so many nuggets in here. I mean, you kind of went into that, the next question I was going to ask you about sharing some of the common financial mistakes that you've seen us, Danette, because you're my CPA, make, and how we can avoid them. And you touched on so many points, how you went from being, a W-2er to now being this business owner and getting relaxed, using money, spending money, not really paying attention to how things needed to flow. And then you quickly got yourself on track because you knew you would be drowning, right? And the importance of not only having a spreadsheet, but once you have that spreadsheet, it lends me to my system, my all-in-one system, digital CEO systems, because I think about how quite often, even myself, as I begin to put things together, Lawron, I would have it here, whether it was tangible where I could touch it or electronically, but then I never had a place for me to continue to go and really check my KPIs out, a place for me to really see what I was doing, where I was dropping the ball, not just the email piece, the financial piece is key. I remember talking to you a couple of weeks ago saying, wow, since people are in digital CEO systems, I'm able to see some other areas of consistent growth, right? And having that additional stream of income coming into the business, it's taking care of other levels. But before, I couldn't see it because even though I was a strategist, I wasn't taking the systematic approach. And I wasn't taking that look at my numbers like I am now, because these numbers really do matter. It's important that I stay on task. But there's still some areas that I believe that we as women, we've heard, get an accountant, get a CPA, get a lawyer, get all these key things that we need to have when we're new in business, whether you're seasoned or brand new. And quite often, a lot of us kind of drop the ball, in that spot. But it's vitally important. So we tend to run up against this brick wall because there's some common financial situations that we continue to put ourselves in. And one is robbing Peter to pay Paul, right? Whew, it's a struggle. The struggle is real, right? You've been told that you need this program, you need that program, you need to get a VA. So you got all these things coming at you. And although some of these things are so real, sometimes we take a bite off of it a tad bit too soon. So I was wondering I know you dropped some things. No, you dropped a lot, a lot of nuggets. But what other common financial mistakes have you seen us as I'm going to say successful women in business? If we're not, I'm speaking it to existence. And those common areas that you see us struggling with, and tell us how you think we can possibly avoid them as well.
Absolutely. So there's a couple things that I'm dealing with clients with right now. Number one is cash flow management. Number two is burnout. And number three is fear. People may say that that's not a financial issue, but it really is.
Yes.
So let's talk about the first one, cash flow management. So one of the things that I find that people get caught up in this idea. We live in an era where debt, a lot of times, especially when we think about women, we think about underserved communities, there is a stigma around debt. right? And so we have not learned as entrepreneurs how to leverage debt in a way that makes sense. So one of the things that happens is that we try to cash flow every single decision that we make in our business, and it's killing us. This is the thing. When I think about the idea of debt, I'm not saying to take debt so that you can be buried under it. I'm saying if I have $100,000 that I'm able to get from the bank, and I know based on projections, based on the market, based on my business, I'm able to turn that into $1 million, that 100,000 is going to cost me 8% a year, then the difference, what I should really be thinking about is that 8% as a cost of business, not necessarily debt that I have to pay, right? So we sometimes associate debt with being bad. We have this idea of the Bible verse that people lean on is the borrower is slave to the lender. But what we're trying to do is we're not trying to be borrowers in the sense of, well, I don't have it. I'm trying to leverage, and I know that this is going to be a cost associated with bringing this solution to the marketplace. And so if I am intentional about calculating the full cost, because the Bible also tells us to count the cost, right? So if I calculate the cost of this investment, then I can look at it not as debt because I don't know how I'm going to pay it back, but I have a very clear plan of how it's going to bring increase and bring value back into my business as I use my business to bring value to other people.
Wow. I'm sitting here and thinking about the fear factor, right? And how often we get stuck in that. And again, as faith-based entrepreneurs, you and I, we hear it, like you said, so many people are, you shouldn't be in debt. You shouldn't do this. And that's because they don't have clarity on some things. Because in order to own and operate a business, there's going to be some risk that you have to take. So you gotta get out there. You gotta, after you write the vision and make it plain, so then that see it can run with it. Next, first and foremost, you got to be able to run with it. But then you got to make the necessary steps. And some of those steps are financial steps, right? Oftentimes we don't have the money. We don't have that spoon in the mouth like some people do, right? So you have to position yourself to be able to go and get it. But I think the fear factor for most, and for me, when I was really, really staying stuck in it, was that I got really, really tied up in the scarcity mindset type situation. I got to have this money. I got to pay this bill. I need to do this. I need to do that. Once I relaxed my mind, because the reality is no matter what, if it wasn't flowing, there were some other things that were broken down in there that was causing it not to flow the right way. So I had to get to the heart of the matter to find out what was the missing element. What was I doing incorrectly? Was I doing something that I did not need to do? Was I focusing on the wrong thing? And to have me off base. The minute I decided to make a conscious decision to just say it is what it is, but let's plan things out and let's take the step-by-step approach, things begin to open up for me. Now, I'm not saying that it got 10 times easier, but I was able to woosah, and I was able to operate without thinking first about the money. So it was a mindset shift, for lack of better words, that caused me to really begin to think differently. And I began to receive money and a lot more, things just turned around step by step because I erased and got rid of the scarcity piece. I had to drop the thought process of money, money, money. Yes, we're in business to make money, but I had to change my mindset and not let that be the leading factor. I knew that I went into it because, of course, that my goal was to work with that female CEO, that mompreneur, the wifepreneur, the solopreneur woman, that in a nutshell established women in business to help them go from overwhelm to the simplifying, automated, systematizing, and streamlining their business. But there were other elements that I kept running into, not just for me, with them. And that one thing was that scarcity mindset. The longer I lingered in that, the longer I lacked financials coming in. When I released it, it was a total different level.
Absolutely. And I mean, again, and I love this. I love that every single thing that we need is found in God's word. And so when we think about this idea of it is better to give than to receive, when you let's make it super practical. Let's just say a man is interested in you and he's so eager and he's just there, he's in your face, and he's like, I'm trying to find a wife. I got to find a wife. I'm trying to get married. That would be extremely off-putting. He may be nice. He may have everything that you're looking for. But the fact that his priority was his priority and not to get to know you, not to serve you, not to connect with you, that becomes the issue. And so when we think about this idea of sales, of increasing our revenue, we have to remember that our business is an opportunity to be of service. It's an opportunity to add value to the world. And so when I lead from a heart and a place of service, it's always easier to sell because I'm not actually trying to sell you. I'm trying to give you value. And if I'm able to show you the value, if I'm able to demonstrate the value, then you're willing to exchange value for value, because at the end of the day, all money is just a denotion of value, right? It's energy. Energy is neither created or destroyed. It just changes form. And so the energy that they expended to get the money, whether through the business or working or however it came, is being exchanged for the energy that you're going to expend to serve them. And so I remember when I started my business, I was so pressed, for lack of a better word. I was so pressed to make a sale, and it would be palpable in the sales conversation. It was about me. It was self-centered. It was self-serving. But when I come to the conversation, I say, listen, I want to serve you. I think I'm the best option, but let's take it slow. Let's do something small. Let's see if I'm the right fit for you. And if I'm not, I'm okay with that, because what I'm more concerned with is that your financials are done right, that you have the support that you need, that you have the relationship and the trust that you need, because when we're talking about people's money, they want to feel safe. And so if I'm not the one that makes you feel safe, that's fine. I'm not gonna pester you to stay with me. But I think that that's so important. And I want to get back to those three elements, because one of them was fear. I find that a lot of women are afraid to look at what their financials say about them. We take and we ascribe value to ourselves. We ascribe value to our business based on our financials, when if we are believers, we should ascribe value from what God says about us. And so if we don't know what our financials mean or what they say, or they're not in the best spot, that's okay. You can learn that. But you should never come to your financials with shame. You should never come to it with fear and trepidation. You should face it head on, because God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And so I have the power. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I don't know how to do this, but God's going to give me the power to do it. Of love, right? So I love my clients. I love the people that I serve. And so I need to be here. And in order to be here, I need to be financially sound. and of a sound mind. He's given me the ability. If any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who giveth to all men liberally and upbraideth not. So if I don't know how to understand my financials, I have a sound mind in Jesus' name. And so I'm going to be able to lean in and understand it. But that spirit of fear is of the spirit of the devil, because he's trying to steal, kill, and destroy the dreams that God has placed in your heart.
Wow. And I'm sitting here and the first thing that we hear when you become a business owner is that, you got to have cash flow. If you don't have that, you're not in business. So I can remember being overwhelmed emotionally and oftentimes feeling embarrassed. I remember before I got with you and you begin to work with me through looking at my ups and downs, my highs and my lows. I remember for quite some time commingling my bank accounts, um, being embarrassed to share with bookkeepers and accountants and people that I met online that I knew had what I needed. But because I was a strategy lady, I was too embarrassed to show them that I was in a big mess, right? But I had to take that deep breath and just face it. Yeah, I can be good at what I do, but I wasn't good with those numbers. Wasn't good with managing the money and all these key things. And I love how you mentioned that we need to remember who we are and whose we are in Him, and not put a value on our heads or on our shoulder about our mistakes or even our successes. We have to watch ourselves when it comes to that, because we can get cocky, right? And then when that money starts drying up, now we're in another pickle because we decided to think that it was us and our power. Yes, he gives us the vision and the dreams and the goals. That's why I love talking about writing the vision and making it plain so then the seed can run with it. Quite often, again, we think that everybody else is going to run with it, but we don't even understand and see it. We hadn't gotten the clarity. We hadn't identified our business activities. If we identify our business activities, then we can identify our weak points, right? We can quickly see our weak points and know who we are, what's our strength, where we work best at, and where we are just, I need to give that to somebody else. Or, well, where we may need to simply go and get some training, right? I can remember sitting up under you and finding out, I don't know QuickBooks, and it was so important to me to have someone that I could ask questions to, not just be the general bookkeeper that's just putting everything together. But when those things start ticking in my head, what category should I put it up under? Why should this be up under that? Can I move money from my personal account to this? Just getting clarity on these things. When I started getting clarity in those things, I felt like I was really running a business for a change. That was golden for me. That was a golden moment for me. When my first W-2 went out to my employee, and I started freaking out about, oh my God, I got to pay Uncle Sam taxes on my business. It got real. You are a real business owner. God, we got to run this thing in decency and order. It has to be order to it. If it's not order, then we're all over the place. I'm telling you to do something that I'm not doing. So he had me backtrack and do everything that I've been working on other people to do now in my own business. And even the financial piece, I may not be gifted in it, but I know who to go get it from. And that's you. I know when I host events that I bring people in because this piece, this financial piece, is so important. And this is why we have you here today on Let's Talk Strategies with Danette Moss, is because this is an important element that we just can't skip. I can talk strategies, I can talk systems, I can talk processes, but the money piece, there is a process, there's a strategy, and there's a system to it. When we wrap our hands around that money piece, Lawron, I find that wrapping our hands around that, now I can look and say, oh, I need to sell this many of this particular product or this particular service that will get me to that. But if I don't get it out my head down on paper, and if I don't sit with someone to help educate me, to take me from point A to point B, or to help me erase the spirit of embarrassment and fear so that I can get to where I need to go, there's no way you're going to make that money. Because you're going to be like, oh, how am I going to make 100,000 a year? I don't know. How am I going to make, 7 figures? You won't if you don't address this piece. So I really, truly appreciate you for just even breaking that down. I got another one coming for you because, we're going to wrap up soon, but I'm going to have you back another time. I already know it because there's just so much in this that we really need to really, truly deal with. And I want to speak from a space of strategy because I am the strategy lady. And my question for you, or just the topic I want to kind of switch to is, what strategies do you think, or do you recommend we, Danette, other business owners, women in business, what do you recommend we use for that effective type of budgeting and expense management? Do we have to have a QuickBooks? Do you think it's smart to just deal with spreadsheets, especially when you're starting out new in this, and for our existing ones, because I know a lot of people have been in business for years. They no longer have the people helping them because we're in this whole new thing that we're all dealing with now. Um, what do you recommend? Is there a strategic approach, or what strategies do you recommend we use for effective budgeting and expense management?
Absolutely. So I think that there's a twofold answer to this. The first is to understand what works for you, but then also what works for the future. And so we need to figure out, am I trying to build a 7-figure business? If I'm trying to build a 7-figure business, then I need to remember, and this is regardless of what you're trying to create, but in this context, I need to remember that he that is faithful over little will be faithful over much. And so am I cultivating habits of financial management that show that I'm trustworthy of much? Right? And so that's the first piece. And so if you're looking to create a business that is scalable, that is generating the type of income that you need, or that you're looking to get to, you should implement a system that's sustainable. Develop good financial hygiene practices. Get QuickBooks, get Xero, get Wave. Have something in place so you begin to cultivate that habit of financial management. That's the first piece. The other piece, though, is, let's just say that you are a consultant and all you ever want to do is be a consultant, and your goal is, I don't know, 75,000 a year. That's comfortable income. It's not anything too crazy. If you're a consultant, a business consultant or an IT consultant, some type of service professional, you likely don't require a lot of overhead. You may have like a shared office, you may have a mailbox, you might have some contractors. You may be able to manage everything on a spreadsheet if that works for you. But at the end of the day, you have to be disciplined to continue to check in, to continue to understand where you're at now and where are you trying to go. And does the system that you have in place lend itself to the type of success that you're looking to have? So all that said to say, it depends. But I regardless of what you pick something and stick with it.
But you got to pick something.
You gotta pick something.
All in all, you have to pick something. And if you were to use that something, do you recommend using it as a online version? Should we pay for the actual hardcore software, or will online suffice?
Online is sufficient for a lot of people. So I think you can stick with online. At the end, comfortable with. A lot of accountants and bookkeepers are going to recommend or steer you towards QuickBooks Online. And so if you start there, then that's a great option. There's also a good handful of a lot of accountants and bookkeepers are starting to become more familiar with Xero. So that's also an option. And those are all cloud-based online platforms.
Hmm. Okay. I mean, so you have things right there at your fingertips, things that you
Exactly.
can do, things that you can work with, things that you can give someone else, that they can work with and you not feel the pressure or the stress. So I like that. I don't think I'm touching anything else right now but QuickBooks because I am still trying to work through that. But again, I'm glad that I have a starting point. As we get ready to wrap things up, and as I mentioned, I gotta have you back because we really gotta just
I'd
really
love to.
peel back the onion layer on more. I want to ask you, if at all possible, do you mind sharing a success story of a female entrepreneur that you've worked with and kind of highlight and match those principles or strategies that they applied to achieve that financial success? Because I know some of us, you know, we're giving you the tips, but you've worked with people that have found success and they weren't successful at first. Share a moment or a story for us, just so you can kind of let us know you got it, girl. You can get there too.
You absolutely can. And I one of my clients is based in Atlanta. And what I love about them, and they're, first of all, let me just say that success is not a destination, it is a process. And so we, the Bible talks about like the progression of faith. So we go from glory to glory. And so, same thing in entrepreneurship, we go from success to success. And I have a client, they have not reached the apex yet. But one of the things that has been so transformational for them has been going through the process, right? So getting clear on vision, what am I trying to do next? Getting clear on the process, getting clear on who they need to help them, and then having a process, a system for assessing success. So this client, they own a tea shop here in Atlanta, and one of the things that has been so transformational in working with them is getting over the fear of what the numbers say. Because as we've worked together, and we've been very, I've been very supportive and talking to them and encouraging them and letting them know that it's okay. You didn't grow up doing accounting, and nobody taught you how to do this. This is a process. And as we begin to break this wall down, they have become more open to saying, I can dream again. They've become more open to saying, I can get the help and support that I need. They've become more open to saying, okay, we've been doing it a certain way, but it's not getting us to the level that we want to be at. So I'm ready to make those steps and make the decisions that I need to take my business to the next level. They have gotten comfortable having consistent conversations and check-ins regarding their financials. Yeah, they'll get busy. They may be a little, I gotta get back to it. But at the end of the day, they're showing up and having somebody to walk alongside of them. It has been a beautiful transformation to just see what happens in the spirit of a person, where you just walk alongside them, where you encourage them. And I am excited for their future and what is going to happen throughout the remainder of this year and for many more years to come.
So that's like, Danette, there's hope, right? Female CEO, sassy lady, there is hope. We just have to go ahead and just be transparent, be real about where we are, and be real about where we want to go. and understand that, yes, there's some hiccups, there's some mistakes you may have made, there's some successes that you have. But in order to maintain the success and to continue to grow, because it's all about the growth, right? In this thing, we need to know that you know that you know that it's going to be all good, that you got this. But you got it with God's help. There's nothing I can do without his help. Absolutely nothing. And I realize and recognize that some people maybe that are watching this may not be faith-based entrepreneurs. I get it, right? This is just my journey, and this is how I like to show up to let you know who I am. I always come from the spirit of serving, the spirit of giving. But when you hear me talk, you will probably hear some good about Christ when it comes to that. So looks like I got a little back talk there, but just extremely excited. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it just got a little feedback all of a sudden.
Yeah, I heard some too. Something is weird there. Hope that's better. Well, as we begin to wrap things up on this good topic, I would love for you to share what's next for you, Lauren. What's going on in the upcoming events? Tell us a bit about you and how we can find you, follow you, stay in touch with you.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I'm really excited to share is my upcoming book. It's called Let This Mind, Biblical Principles from the Greatest Entrepreneur of All. And it is an exploration of the life of Christ and the lessons that we can glean from God's word on organizational management, leadership, team building, sales, marketing, all the things. And that book is going to be released on Amazon on May 26th. So I'm super excited about that. Pre-orders are going to start within the next week. If you are interested in learning more about that, please give me a follow on LinkedIn, Lawron Ballard, or on Instagram, I am Lawron Ballard. I'll be sharing more about that. And then I also will be rolling out in June the Let This Mind community. And so we'll be having a lot more conversations like this, talking about biblical business and how we can show up in the marketplace, how we can use our businesses as an opportunity to share Christ and in the world and also become who God has called us to be.
I am just sitting here smiling. I cannot wait. I am trying to figure out where that back talk is coming from because it is just really messing up what we're doing here. But I'm extremely excited about this. I cannot wait to be involved in this community to get more of what I need to get and get the checkup from the neck up as well. Extremely excited about it. Always excited to hold a conversation with you because no matter when I talk with you as it pertains to money, I know that you have my best interests at heart. I really do. And I appreciate you for joining me here on Let's Talk Strategies with, of course, Danette Moss. I'm your host here on Limelight TV, also E360 TV Network. And you can find out and listen to more of my shows over on YouTube, on Amazon, on Apple TV. Hey, look, I'm everywhere. I'm here to help you take your business from overwhelm to that more simplified approach. Of course, automating, systematizing, and streamlining. And this is one topic that I knew we all needed to have. Lauren, I'm going to go ahead and let you go ahead and share the social media spot for you to be at because this is really messing up our whole part here. I hate that background noise is coming in, but you told us about your book. I believe I know where you are out on LinkedIn. Is this the favorite place for them to connect with you?
Yep, you can connect with me there, or again at I am Lawron Ballard on Instagram. Those are the best places to reach me.
Awesome. Well, you've heard it. She has this book that's coming out. I want you to make sure that you go ahead, get that pre-order in. Go May 26th, be on the lookout out there on Amazon. I'm going to get mine. Make sure you join the community or find out the step-by-step approach because I don't know if there's an application process or whatever it is. But trust me, I really truly believe that you need this. I know I need it, and I'm planning on being involved in it. I want to tell you once again, Lauren, thanks so much for
Thank you
coming
for having
and
me.
sharing the nuggets and sharing it not only as a businesswoman, but from the biblical perspective as well. We all need that checkup from the neck up, and we need to just be transparent and be real about where we are so we can get to where we need to go. All right, since it seems like the internet negativity gods are trying to mess with my show, we're going to go ahead and end our show. I want to thank you once again for joining me here on Let's Talk Strategies. We air on Tuesdays, and there are some other segments that are going to be coming on. We generally show up here at 12 noon every Tuesday, Eastern Standard Time. So be on the lookout. You never know who you may see. But I can promise you this, they will be giving you tools, actionable steps that you can take right away in your business and take your business to the next level. For now, make it a great day. And thanks so much again for joining.